welcome to another episode of CFO Plans Online Fireside Chat. In this episode, we are speaking with Kanna Sunkara, one of the founders of Reuzip. Reuzip it's a innovative dust barrier solution for critical environments. We'll talk all about what the solution is, what the product looks like. But let's welcome Kanna to our Fireside Chat first. Kanna, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Gary, for
Right.
having me.
So let's start with your background, basically, like what made you guys think about such a solution? Like what triggered you into founding a solution like this, a company like this, and then we go from there.
Okay, well, we didn't really see ourselves, and by we, right now, my identical twin brother and I run this company. We didn't really see ourselves in this industry at all. It just kind of came. We had a crazy background on how we got into it, but we had 20 plus years in commercial real estate experience, and randomly we went to this spiritual psychology program for interpersonal development, where I met a friend who was a water damage specialist, and at that time, my brother and I were also exploring, just had an open mind towards other entrepreneurial ventures. Like we got into franchising, while this buddy of ours came to us with an idea of a reusable dust barrier zipper. And so this is kind of our first education into the industry. And then he kind of explained why people would need a reusable dust barrier zipper and all the problems associated with what they're using now. And when he told me, it kind of made a lot of sense. So we ended up helping him patent the product over several years. It was not an easy journey, but we helped him, and he thought that's all the help that he needed. Turned out he wanted us to do a lot more, and we got more and more involved over the years, and then we ended up partnering on the venture. But that's where we kind of caught the inventor's bug, and we saw something much bigger that this idea presented.
Yeah. So, folks, in case you're wondering what the name means, Reuzip, my guess is reusable zip or zipper products.
Yeah.
So I'll let Kanna touch on that. But before that, so Kanna, you have a background. You both the Twindians, as you call yourself, the two of you, with the Indian heritage, I
I
guess.
had a friend that called us that, and it's fucking, we might as well use it.
Right. So you both have background in, you mentioned psychology and, that spiritual side of it. But at the same time, you both have been in brand development, corporate development, some level of commercial real estate brokerage. So that experience, I'm sure, fed into growing Reuzip, in the founding and growing Reuzip. So how did that experience really relate to the current environment?
I mean, it's crazy how it all kind of fits together. I mean, primarily we're doing commercial real estate brokerage, but investing for ourselves in office, multifamily, commercial. So we're understanding the landscape in which contractors operate.
Right.
Also, the franchise system that we had got into, we decided to bring two East Coast quick serve brands to California. One's a smoothie franchise, one's a soft serve franchise. We co-branded it into one concept where we're selling smoothies, acai bowls, coffee, all in one spot. It was a cool little community spot. We really were like interested in doing something for the community. And can't say it was easy. But one thing that we learned in the franchise system was we had the background for the development of it through understanding the real estate, but there are a lot of restrictions you have as a franchisee. And then we did learn what it takes to build a brand, the level of support we wanted to get and didn't get, and the level of support we got that did work. So that really helped us with our clientele that we're targeting in the dust containment environment, especially because we're doing critical environments. So we work heavily with water damage companies. And so we understood what these franchisees are kind of looking for. And so we have in mind, like, okay, how do we develop tools that'll integrate into their workforce and system and be much more reliable and efficient, cost efficient. So yeah, from that and like, building a new brand up in a region it's never been. And we had to learn a lot of marketing skills, all the Adobe Photoshop and graphics and just brand messaging. And, there's a lot to it, but intersection between franchising, real estate, and I'll have to say even the spiritual psychology stuff kind of help us get through the tough times and kind of reframe how we look at things has been extremely valuable.
Yep. So I was going to ask, like, were there any like pivotal moments in your journey? Like you mentioned few actually. So, my next touch point is like, what are the specific turning points or pivotal moments that you are most proud of, and then I'm sure along the way you had some mentors. Like, who are they? Like, so how did those pivotal moments and mentors came together to produce where you are right now?
Well, it's funny if I have to look at it immediately when I think mentor. I think we watched so much Shark Tank, it was ridiculous. Every single episode we essentially learn, and we're almost in a little bubble where we're just kind of in our own heads figuring it out while watching that show and getting whatever advice we can. And I'll have to say, it's like I love our clientele because the people who actually we learn from people that are using our tools and giving us the feedback, and we're almost developing it for them. So that makes us feel great that we're, we have a good idea. And obviously we like that we have an outsider perspective because I feel like then we can just clearly see it's like, okay, this logically does not make sense what you're doing. And, and obviously we get some pushback. It's like, no, this is how you're supposed to do it. And it's like, that's, we have to roll with those punches, but then there's the leaders of the industry that kind of see what we're doing. They hear us out, they see the products, and like, okay, I get it. And so we have key customers of ours that we consider really good friends of ours that have supported us in the industry. So right now it's my twin brother and I that are running the company, and it's been extremely valuable for us because and I won't get into it, but we had lost our other friend and partner in the, he's not with us and no longer with us anymore. And so it's been a tough ride. And so my brother and I have had to learn a lot of stuff in the industry that normally we'd learn from him. But we I guess developed along with our customers, and we're very grateful for
it.
that.
It's always good to have customers helping you grow. I mean, that's a kind of a vote of confidence first of all, and then secondly, like when you grow, like when customers are around you, watching you grow with their advice. I mean, that's a great deal. Like that shows a lot. So all right, so let's move on to your how you built Reuzip also. So Reuzip has it has revolutionized the dust containment industry, and with its reusable systems. So what was the original vision for Reuzip, and what motivated you to address the inefficiencies in the disposable versions of dust barriers?
Okay. So I see that there's a video playing for the audience, but maybe I'll give a general overview of what the initial big product was that we developed was the removable dust barriers that works on a hook and loop system. So people think of hook and loop as Velcro. We don't use the Velcro brand, but it's Velcro, like material. So it's hook and loop. So usually what happens is you've seen on the video playing that there's a barrier, and they have a entry point where you go in and out of. And normally what is used are these healing stick single-use zippers that go onto the plastic. So it's just a backing, there's glue on it, it sticks onto the sheeting, you open it up and cut a slit, but the thing is, this zipper is permanently attached to that plastic. So when the job is done, the plastic sheeting and the zipper go in the trash. Might not seem like a big deal, but that's $10 in the trash. And when you're doing a big job, multiple zippers going in the trash. That's not. So my friend had the idea to have a two-part system where it's the peel and stick loop side goes onto the sheeting. That way, this is the only part that gets stuck and remains on the sheeting, while the zipper attaches to the front, but it's removable.
Right.
So now you get to keep your $10 zipper, throw away a $3.50 mounting strip, which is a fraction of the cost.
Right.
But that's just one benefit of it. Reusable is important is because then it makes it more reliable. We can have a higher quality zipper. And the reason this is important is everyone was complaining about how the disposable zippers jam, they break, they fail on these barriers. And it's like, all right, well, if you're using that and remodeling and painting and it fails, okay, it's not the end of the world. But what happens when they fail on a mold or abatement job or an isolation room in a hospital? With our product, another benefit is that you can literally pull off the zipper, replace it with another one. So we have a critical safeguard. And so to replace the zipper. So that's one half of the system. And I'm going to get to where our tipping point is for us and how we kind of launched to a bigger system. I wanted to solve how to do this with magnets. And it looked like that was impossible. And, it took a couple of years and we realized we're kind of sitting on the answer. Just develop the same thing because they have magnetic doors on the market with plastic built into the magnet, but we just remove the barrier, put hook on the back of a magnetic strip, and then it does the same thing where you can peel off zipper, put on a magnet. Now you can create a self-closing opening in any plastic, any size, any shape, any color. And that's a huge change from what's being used now, where we essentially almost beat our own product and made it so you never have to use a zipper again.
It's a huge leap, I was going to say, because industry has not seen it before. And then, by the way, great video. This is the first time in our fireside chat we actually see the product of the client that we are dealing with. So this is a great video, so people can actually understand what the product looks like really in their life. So you mentioned how the product really transitioned from the base product and now with the challenges you faced in the real life environment, how you improve the product, right? So along the way you got the patents and then you probably had to reapply for new patents. So how you face this challenge? So how you face these challenges, you can touch on that, but more importantly, to overcome these challenges, how did you overcome those challenges? Of course, through sleepless nights, but also I'm sure there's a team around you. So, I'll let you talk about how you, once you saw the challenge, how you overcame those challenges to this level.
Well, I guess our biggest challenge, I know that there's the technical side. But it was almost a sense of purpose that we had and a drive that came about when the pandemic started. We one day woke up, realized, okay, we're doing control and this and that, but there's a pandemic happening. We realize we have the world's only negative air resistant self-closing option that can be used on any barrier, any size, being used in all these open spaces to contain COVID. And we see them using these terrible zippers that are always jamming and breaking. People are posting on social media, nurses are complaining, look at the zipper that I got to deal with. And we're just sitting here so frustrated. It's oh my God, we have this patented solution that can address all of that. And it's half the cost of what you're using now. And so I think it was that just drive where we got to make a difference while we can that kept us going. We had it, with a team of people that we kind of got in with later, including CFO Plans and some marketing teams. But in the very beginning, it was almost just pure will, and just determination. And I think people recognized what we're doing, and it was more like the hospitals and nurses and all them that started supporting us. Next thing you know, we're working with U.S. government, Canadian special forces,
Right.
and like all these big names, and that kept us going.
Right,
The fact that it's like, okay, someone's listening.
Yeah.
And there's always gonna be people that are stubborn and do it the old way, but we got to run with the people that see it, and
Yes, it's all right. I mean, those are proud moments. Yeah.
Changing the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Like moments that you can be absolutely proud of. So my next question is actually I was going to ask, like, what are some of the the moments or milestones that you're most proud of? You mentioned one actually, during COVID, how it all came together.
Yeah.
Like people seeing it like as a great product and a really necessity rather than just something lying out there. So I'll let you talk about some of the most proud moments in this journey.
Well, one was just some realization that like even our innovations themselves, we're almost like not realizing we're not just changing like the zipper, we're changing containment strategies altogether because especially, and it became more and more apparent during the pandemic where, after we solved how to do a self-closing barrier in isolation room, some of the doctors like, oh, well, we got to push hospital beds through there. And sometimes the plastic drags. We're like, okay. Then we realize you can use two of these things side by side and create the first magnetic flap door to push an entire hospital gurney through it. Then we start realizing, okay, this is a bigger movement. It's literally, if we can say, hey, you have a removable zipper, you can create flap and double flap doors. We even added a neat little locking feature on the bottom. And then we just started realizing there are probably a dozen reasons why we're designed for critical environments, and what people are using is not. And so we really so it became an industry-wide thing, not just healthcare. Right. But we started seeing that we've got to make this kind of revolution in dust containment across the board. One of the other, so during the pandemic, I'd say one proud moment, because it was really cool, was someone sent us a video saying, you guys know you're on TV? And I didn't know what he was talking about. And then he shows me Grey's Anatomy, an episode.
Wow.
And where we show up in the episode and they're just using our product, and it's on every single isolation room. And then I'm looking through and it's like, no, it's on the entire season.
Wow.
How they're using our innovation.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
so that was a lot of the things happened during the pandemic, but it helped us showcase why we're designed for critical environments.
Absolutely.
And then we returned back to the restoration industry. And another huge milestone for us was that we've partnered with ServPro, the largest water damage company in the country.
Right.
And we've just come out with like a branded zipper for them. And we're starting to do that with some of the top restoration companies like ServiceMaster, PuroClean, Paul Davis, that are all joining this little revolution of ours.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, those things really gives you a confidence booster, right? So that keeps you going, like you mentioned. Like, for any entrepreneur, like or a product designer, innovator, these are the moments that makes you want to continue, right? So this is amazing. So all right, let's move on to our next segment. Like, so Reuzip, your solutions, they're being, like you mentioned, they're being used in various industries from healthcare to restoration, right? So what are the short-term and long-term goals of the company, to the extent that you can reveal? Of course, you're in this critical phase where like a lot of the patents, in fact, are pending, right? So so to the extent you can discuss what are your short-term and long-term goals.
Short-term, it's like we definitely, for restoration, healthcare, critical environments, we want to provide a better dust barrier zipper entry option.
Right.
We're also, we've also developed a panel system of ultra clear fire-rated panels that can be used along with the barriers, because we found during the pandemic, it's like, okay, you have these big containments up, and you don't want people to feel like they're in a construction zone for months and months and months. So we created this. So we want to have like an aesthetically pleasing option that's highly functional, highly versatile, cost effective. That's kind of like the short term. But what we see is a much bigger system, and we have probably a dozen products that we're either patenting or thinking about patenting. We're going to slow our roll a little bit, make sure we don't get ahead of ourselves, but we want to create an entire system that, many more of the problems that are faced by these industries.
Right. So that's the product side. So like your product goals, product development goals, I should say. So in terms of business growth, like let's say, let's say next 5 to 10 years, like both in terms of geographical reach and also in terms of like the industry penetration, like anything that you can discuss and share with us.
I mean, we're already starting to get partnerships in Canada, in UK, Australia, and so we see this is something that will be adopted. And I do have to mention this, that everything's been positive, but CFO Plans has helped us through like a dark time also. We did really well during the pandemic, but while our friend, our co-founder, was sick and actually passed away of a brain tumor, our fulfillment center had taken advantage of us and was fraudulently invoicing us and really screwed up our books. They went on to extort us. So no good deed goes unpunished. So when we were just like on our way, and then we hit this wall, and when it was just like, it was kind of a dark night of the soul. And when it's like, okay, now we're bootstrapping again for no reason after we done all this good work.
Right.
And we had aligned it with doing positive work while growing our company.
Right.
We went through a lot of loss personally and financially, and then, and it's tough to trust people.
Yeah.
We had interviewed a few people to help us with our books and clean up the mess that this vendor had created for us.
Right.
A couple of them didn't work out, and so we did end up finding you guys, and thank God.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I almost felt bad for the amount of it's like, I know this is kind of an outside the box kind of thing, but you guys were extremely flexible on how you guys worked with us, both in like not promising us some big package that we don't need yet because we're almost like rebuilding everything. So I feel like you guys were flexible in how we scaled with you guys, and kind of held our hand to fix all the issues and put us back in a good position. And now I feel like we have someone that kind of went through hell with us, and now we have a really good partner we trust and can finally scale with. And sometimes I think we had to go through those tough times to get where we are, and we're going to be a lot smarter and wiser, and maybe forge some invaluable relationships along the way. And we're excited about the future. And it's almost like when you ask about what are the big plans, for a minute, I feel like we had to shut that out to focus on survival. And now I just feel like now it's it's wide open again. I'm very optimistic about the future. And maybe if you ask me in a month or two, I'll really know where we're going. But
absolutely, like
just waking back up again.
Absolutely right. So I personally, I always believe that if you have the right product, your marketing expense and the marketing effort will be minimized, because people look for you. You don't have to look for people, right? So you don't have to look for customers. So you are in that path. Like you found highly required product in across all these industries, and you're doing a great job with innovating that product into like how it can be applicable in many different critical environments. So I have no doubt with the both the geographical reach and the revenue reach, both will happen automatically because of the product innovation and the quality of the product. So we believe the same way, like in CFO. I mean, you touched on CFO plans a little bit. So let me ask you now that we are on the topic, let me ask. So CFO plans has been your accounting services provider, pretty much from the beginning. After that, we had a couple of bad experiences, but after that, it was CFO plans. So I have to ask like a very short answer, but basically, like, what do you like about CFO Plans service, and like you touched a little bit on how we have helped you on that side, but what specifically, and like basically both from price to service quality, if you can touch on that a little bit, so that
well, I think price wise, very fair.
Yeah.
And also, if I ever like ask for something that's maybe a little bit outside the scope, it's not like you guys nickel and dime me for something. It's like,
Right.
hey, can you help me work on this project with this other vendor, and you guys interface with them, and I don't have to like worry about that relationship. It's like, I just kind of step out of the way and you guys do that interfacing with them. Or, like, I have a problem with like setting up the Canadian taxes. Can you talk directly to our accountant there? It's like, I haven't got something from you guys ever complaining and saying, hey, well, that's how that side of the scope of work. We have to like increase your bill or whatever. You have a little bit of flexibility. You know where we're at what stage we're at. And so I think you guys have always been very fair with us. And I trust that it never feels like, oh, I'm just one of 100 clients and you're barely paying attention to us. It's like, I'm actually wowed a few times by the like how quickly you guys respond. And sometimes I almost feel bad asking for any of the extra stuff.
No, but that's music to my ear. As the CEO of CFO Plans, like we make a huge effort in terms of like making sure every client feels that way, like as if they are the only client we have. So among hundreds, of course. Good to hear. Thank you for the vote of confidence there. So speaking of other partnerships, so obviously, like as you go through this journey, I mean, obviously you have the giants of the industry, like it could be a paint company, it could be a medical devices company, it could be a hospital chain. So with massive funding, a lot of power in terms of what they can do with their money. I think you are in a really good spot, like getting their attention at least, and then like they see your products, it's always a good feeling when giants of the industry try to imitate you also, right? It's a good feeling in a funny way, because you don't want your business taken away, but at the same time, when you see these others trying to like do the same products, that you have innovated something that is useful for the whole industry. So let's talk a little bit about those kind of partnerships, both in terms of direct partnerships and also in terms of like like innovative partnerships. Like you mentioned the U.S. government a little bit too. So how are those going for you?
So people that are like, some of the people that are writing I'm not sure what I can talk about, but some of the people that are writing the protocols, it's like for even infection disease control and all that, some of them they rely on some of our products, and they like what it is, and they're helping us even develop it because they see what we got. So some of those partnerships that are tied into that industry are going really well, and it's mutually beneficial.
Right.
We worked with, and it's really strange how like it was mostly COVID that helped us plant the seeds in all these industries. From working with VA facilities, Army, Navy, other almost every single branch of the military.
Right.
So that's on kind of the government side, but then that obviously spills over into the big hospitals like HCA, Dignity, Kaiser, that if it's not them directly through the restoration contractors or other contractors that are doing the work in the facilities, they're turning to our product to solve some unique problems that even our competitors literally can't solve, because we have patents on the versatility, the way the barriers can be configured.
So those are like those partnerships. So that gets your name out there, and like I mentioned, like your innovation is being accepted across the both in terms of the industry and also in terms of the commercial viability, right? So that's good to hear. So the other thing I wanted to cover is like this is while the product itself is great, one main factor of this is the reusability. Like there's a huge movement in the world right now, of course, for the last, I would say, 2 decades now, and it will continue, is the recyclability, right? So the sustainability of the product, and how, because some of these products involves certain, let's say, plastic material and things that cannot be decomposed, but as long as you can reuse it, multiple, like thousands of times, I would
Yeah.
say, that not only it will save money for the user, but also as, the world, the green effect of the, of the world is preserved. So I think that's something that we can be very proud of. So I'll let you
Yeah.
speak into it and how the government and these environmental agencies working with you or uh, accepting your product as a great let's say movement towards their goals. So anything in that segment.
Well, I feel like everyone obviously would want to be environmentally conscious if it
Right.
fits also into their
Right.
business model and operations.
Right.
So we try to align all the incentives where it does make sense to
Yeah.
use in a way, a reusable zipper. If you use our reusable zipper once
Right.
and throw it away, or reuse it a dozen times, you're still going to gain so much efficiency that you're going to produce less waste.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, okay, let's say their zipper is $10. The backing is, this backing strip that I showed you earlier is $3.50. We're actually cutting the waste by 50% that ends up in the landfill.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not fully, there is a consumable component,
Right.
but at least we're cutting the waste in half. Because when you go fully disposable, the quality is so cheap
Right.
that it's not reliable.
Right.
So we kind of have best of both worlds, where it's like we get the high quality zipper component,
Right.
but we got the lower priced, still reliable, uh, partnering component where it's kind of a win-win no matter which way you go.
Right.
Because in a strange way, we've invented the largest use of disposable Velcro in the world.
Right.
We're not competing zippers against zippers. So even if someone came out with a $6 zipper or $7 zipper, it's
Right.
if this is $3.50. Well,
Right.
you're not going to really beat that on both a cost and then functionality. If you have higher efficiency, where let's say your zipper jams, you can peel off a zipper, replace it with another one.
Right.
Then you just save so much time not redoing your entire barrier.
Mm-hmm.
If you can lock your zipper so that
Right.
people can't go in and turn
Yeah.
off your drying fans,
Yeah.
that's increased efficiency. If you can pull off the zipper and replace it with the magnetic option,
Right.
that's even more increased efficiency. And we've actually heard from people that when they've replaced their disposal zippers with, the last one was from this big construction firm, and we were happy to hear it, that they said they would replace their zipper 15 times on large, heavy traffic areas.
Right.
And as soon as they switched over to our magnetic entry strip, not only did it make their job easier,
Right.
but they haven't even replaced their zipper ever. Like the entire project, they don't have to worry about it.
Right.
So,
So that's great. So in fact,
we've aligned the incentives and our pricing. We're not gouging people. We're trying to be very fair.
right, right. In fact, that leads me to one of the audience questions. Actually, I'll read it word for word. So it's asking, with a focus on reusable solutions, how do you approach pricing to ensure your products deliver ROI for your clients while maintaining a healthy margin?
Yeah. Okay. So that's why I feel like our patented system, the hook and loop, kind of covers both bases. It's like if we can make money on continued refills, they come back for, we call these the mounting strip refills. So essentially, I'll just show you how it's cool how we systemize these zippers, where we have a carry case, 6 zippers, and they come with these 12 mounting strip refills. So it's almost like the Dollar Shave Club of zippers, where they're coming back to us, and that helps us maintain an ongoing business.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not gouging them on the prices, because we're not selling them zippers for, if you go to like Home Depot or something and buy a 12-pack of disposable zippers, it's going to cost you $120. But when they realize they can buy this entire pack for $42, that's, we win, they win.
Absolutely.
The environment wins. There's then on top of it, even if you take all of that out of the picture, our whole thing is we're the only zipper designed for critical environments. We don't even feel like you should ever use a disposable zipper because of the fact that you cannot remove and replace it. You can't lock it. You can't use a magnetic version in areas where people are likely to leave it open.
Right.
So I think there's going to be a paradigm shift as
Right.
long as people understand that, like, we're literally 10, 20 times better than the competition
Right.
on not just price, but just like aligning incentives across the board
Right.
for environment, industries, functionality,
Yeah.
ease of use with teams. So
That's great. Like, I mean, we have kind of the same offering, right? Basically, like I always believed, or continue to believe, both the quality and a reasonable price can coexist. That leads me to my next question. Actually, it's from the audience again, word for word. I'll read it.
yeah,
So, basically, what strategies have you used to educate clients about the value of switching to reusable solutions in a very traditional industry that we're in, that hasn't seen a lot of innovation actually? So we actually have the same trouble actually. Like,
Okay.
when people question why you are so reasonable, like, because they feel like there's some catch behind it.
yeah.
So it's like, so I'm sure you have the same trouble, same challenge. So I'll let you speak to like how you educate your clients.
So, and I can't say we've solved this, but
Right.
we've taken big steps. So, one, partner with some of the leaders in the industry. ServPro has been a huge blessing for us, for them to see the value. And if they're a pretty big company out there making moves, so they're pretty established. And if they're using our system, then that's a good social proof for us. So that helps. The other thing is, when I mentioned that we have all these new containment techniques, we're working with instructors that are teaching containment. And it's almost foolish for them to be like, here, use this old thing that has all these problems, cannot create flap doors, cannot create, cannot be locked, cannot be removed and replaced. There's going to be a point at which it's like, if this is out there and the educators are behind the curve, and it's like the end users are the ones that are like creating the movement, there's going to be this disconnect.
Right.
So one of our strategies is get it in front of the people that are actually just like, that understand at that deeper level, the educators.
Right.
Like,
That's
if you do
great.
have this disruptive technology, it's like, I don't
Right.
need to go teach all these, because sometimes it's like you teach someone to someone that's been taught the old way. They're just like, no, that you can't use a like, so many times we got the thing, you can't use a magnet for mold. And then I'm like, but have you asked yourself why?
Right.
Or why can't you use it? It's like, that's because their experience has been all these inferior products in the past that don't hold the negative air pressure required for these critical environments.
Right.
But they literally take that assumption and put it onto our product.
Right.
And so the pandemic was great when it's like, all right, you guys don't want to listen? Then it's like, we're not worried about mold. We're going to work with infectious disease control, the highest. And if we are going to work for the highest standard, but cost half of what you cost, like what you're spending on zippers, after a while it boggles my mind. But I know it's like, it is education, it is marketing, and it's not their fault. It's I look at myself, I'm like, okay, how do I get the message out there, out of not just for our company, but it's like, when we have so much to offer, it feels frustrating to not be able to like get the word out there and be like,
absolutely. You feel like, hey, the whole world should know about your product, but they don't, right? So I have the same problem. So like, but
we've even had people like, it's like, oh, someone made a similar product. Not going to say who. There's people that like try to make something similar but don't violate our patents, and there's people that are violating our patents. And it's like, okay, cool, you do that, but it's like when you see them, because they've got the distribution, they can launch this inferior product, and you still look at it like, that's still a terrible option. Kind of piggybacking off of us, and you see them get it out. It's like, they're the big boys, they've got distribution, whatever. It's like, we're trying to get there. And the thing is, I think with strategic partnerships, correct marketing and messaging, I can't say I'm an expert in this. I kind of fell into this world, but I do love it. I love, I mean, it's challenging. It's more work than anything I've ever done in my entire life. And I've done autumn ventures. But just having that vision of what I know this can be, and all the good it can do. It's like, and the greatest thing with this that keeps me going is this magnetic strip has a larger addressable market than my competitors. because everyone's just doing the same thing. The competitors
Right.
just doing the same thing. These
Right.
disposable zippers, disposable doors, whatever.
Right.
This thing can actually be used on things like, and we have people using it on gazebos and tents and screen doors, and it's
Right.
just like the hundreds of use cases that come in, the DIY options. It actually keeps me excited. I'm like, oh my
Right.
God, it's like, it's so big what this can be.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like you just answered this question, but I'll read it. This is from the audience. I feel like we just covered this, but
I'm glad the audience is actually asking me questions.
it's asking, as someone with an extensive background in different industries, what has been the most rewarding part of building Reuzip? So,
Building Reuzip. Oh man, sometimes it's a heavy thing because it's just like, oh,
Right.
it's a lot of work. But when you see something that's disruptive,
Right.
that is now becoming slowly more mainstream, and then other people are talking about telling people, no, this is the way you should be doing it.
Right. That's the most rewarding
And then
thing.
you have a lot of people supporting you, and it becomes a move. I guess right now it's when it's in the almost in the earlier stages, but I feel like when it's starting to become a movement, that feels rewarding.
Right. No, it's absolutely. So it's nothing like when you go to parties and other people talk about your product. That's great. So good to hear. All right. So Kanna, this has been great. So very I guess informative session about your product, and anyone listening, like go to reusip.com and you can see all about all the products and innovations and like what's coming up. There are a lot of, like I said, a lot of patent pending products that has not been released yet. So the future is bright for Reuzip, and I wish the company very good luck. Although you don't need luck, it seems, because you have been doing very well.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, good to see. And again, thank you for being a CFO Plans client also. We'll continue to grow together in your journey. But
we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you, everyone. And that's it for today. Until next time, bye bye.